everyone. I hope we're doing well. For the next few minutes, I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic, for me at least, and that is the world is waiting for Africa's imagination. But before I start, let's do a quick poll. How many of you here are Nigerian? Raise your hand. Ah, okay, put your hand down. How many of you are proud to be Nigerian? I love it. I love it. And for me, I raised my hand both times, I think. And as a Nigerian, there's a proverb that I've lived my life by. One of my favorite proverbs from my grandmother is "Mepere onye noge n'azụ ụzọ." And for those of you that are Igbo, you probably understand what it means. But for me, for people that are not Igbo, what it means is open the door for the person that's coming behind you. And this is not like figurative or something that is really happening, as in opening the door. But what this really refers to is making space for people that come behind you. Now, for a lot of people, you don't have access to your grandparents or the knowledge of older people. And I was very blessed to have that knowledge. I grew up over, I think, 3 continents. By the time I was 14, we had traveled the world. My dad was an ambassador. But wherever we lived, in our house, it was always a Nigerian home. So try and imagine, I will go to school with an Amaka or a Shelby, and then we'll be speaking Fune inside school. And once I enter the home, we'll speak Igbo, we'll eat Nigerian food, we'll listen to Nigerian music. And I'm so grateful that my father gave us this opportunity, because what it did was that it let us love and believe in our culture. And the reason why this is so important is because there is a saying that the future is African. What that means is 1 in 4 people, I'm still hoping my slides will come up. Okay. What it means is 1 in 4 people in 2050 are going to be African. I don't know if we can really understand that. That means 25% of the world's population is going to be Nigerian. 2050, 1 in 4 people are going to be African. It sounds like this is not such a significant number, but currently in the world, 4% of the population is African. So this is huge. But you know the thing with Africa, for us in Africa, culture is everything to us, right? The way we talk, the way we dress, our language, etc., and so forth. But what we have seen in Africa is that our culture is what drives innovation. So today's theme is think global, go global. But the truth of the matter is that when you're thinking around going global, most times you do not think of your culture as a way to actually move the needle. Now, culture is the root of innovation. I don't know how many of you know that most Nigerian midwives can know if a child is sick when the child is born and they hear the child's cry. How many of you know it? No, work with me now. My monitor did not work. You have to help me here. How many of you know? Volume. Oh, you didn't know, but today you are knowing, Abby. So, no, please, be active. You guys are young now, because me, I'm like twice your age. I think I have more energy, right? So let's ginger up. Let's suit up. Did you guys, if you didn't know that, have you guys heard of Ubenwa AI? How many of you, who has heard of it, please? Is it not astonishing? This is being created by somebody that went, his name is Charles Onu, if I'm correct. He went to Federal University of Technology, Owerri. What he's building is an AI that uses the sound of a child's cry to be able to find out what the child needs, especially when it comes to health. This is mind-blowing, honestly, because that same way that the Nigerian midwives hear the child's cry and know what's going on, and for those of us that are mothers in the room, you also know this. This is rooted in our culture. The second thing is, if you look at East African communities, right, they use animal behavior, plants, and sky patterns to forecast droughts. We know a lot of times in East Africa, drought is an issue. I'm sure you know. So being able to look at things like trees, how the animals are moving. I don't know how many of you are connected to your culture and your roots, that sometimes an older person in the community will say, it's going to rain. Why? Because the leaves are moving like this. You know, all this information, they actually put it in a rule-based drought early warning expert system. And they're putting technology on top of it, using this indigenous knowledge. Yeah? There's actually another cosmetic paste that's made by the Himbu people of Namibia for butterfat and using butterfat and some other ingredients. This paste is scientifically shown to have SPF light protection and infrared reflectivity. This is huge because what it means is that they were in a very hot environment and they innovated and they built something that was going to help them. Our ancestors were innovators. And I'm sure if we talk to all of you in this room, you're going to see so many things in your culture that shows that innovation. How many of you have heard of the Igbo apprenticeship system? It's very popular, yes. And this system, for those of you that may not know, is a way in which somebody brings an apprentice and then trains the apprentice, correct? And then you establish them in business, right? And then that person still patronizes your business. The Harvard Business Review actually said it's a model for scalable and equitable economic development. It is described as the largest business incubator due to its scale and impact. And the most important thing, zero student debt. How many of us have heard of M-Pesa? Yeah? Okay, so it is estimated that 44% of adults participate in some form of informal savings and credit. Huh? How many of you have done Isusu? Nobody? Ajo, thank you. When I said Isusu, my children also said, Mom is Ajo, right? So maybe I'm living in the dark ages. How many of us have done it? Yes, now. Sorry? You are still... There's actually a company in the US, Isusu Finance. They give credit to immigrants. And M-Pesa looked at our behavior, our cultural behavior. They said, for example, a child in Mombasa wants to send money to his parent in Nairobi through the phone. Our culture is rooted in innovation. Our culture is rooted in systems. The systems and innovation in our culture are the kind that the international organizations have recognized. But the thing is, how can we innovate on a culture we do not know? Now, what makes up culture? Dressing, correct? Right? Speech. So people in the north speak differently from the people in maybe the southeast, correct? What else makes up culture? Sorry? Food. What else? Dressing and values, you know? But one big thing that makes up culture is language, right? So a good way we can indicate how culture is behaving in Nigeria is the language. I don't know how many of you agree with this. Only 52% of Nigerians could understand their native language proficiently. Huh? Just 48% can speak their native language fluently. And 38% rarely use their native language in daily conversations, preferring English or Nigerian pidgin. Right? So what is this? Do you guys agree with this? Yeah? Somebody said no. First two, yes. Last one, it should be less. Interesting. So this is even too ambitious, right? But what does this tell us about our culture? We're losing it. We're losing it. So let us start today and let's do a quick exercise. I want you to turn, I was going to say turn to your neighbor, but I won't do that. I'll say turn to the person beside you and in your language say hello, how are you? I can start because I will say ndewo, kekime. Do you want to try it? No, we're doing this together. Try it. Hello, how are you? If you can, respond in your language as well. No, somebody copied ndewo, kekime. I heard you. How many of you do not know how to say this in your language? Interesting, right? So, sometimes we believe going global means we need to adopt a different culture and leave the culture that made us. And I'm not standing here as somebody that hasn't experienced it. So I was the first Black leader for Amazon Web Service for the Middle East, Africa, and Turkey. I was the first African leader for Google GCS for Sub-Saharan Africa, and I was the first female leader for Cisco Nigeria. Thank you. And in these spaces, you can see from the first that I'll enter a room. I'm either the first female, the only female, the only black female. In fact, most times I was the only Nigerian. And if there was an African, it was somebody from South Africa. And me, myself, I started shrinking because I didn't think our culture was strong enough. It was one of the reasons I started investigating. I started getting close to my grandparents. I started getting close to people in my village. And the amount of innovation I learned and our history blew my mind. And that is why now, regardless of where I am, I can wear our African fabric and I can wear my braids and I will speak with my Nigerian accent, right? So it's easy to say, but I can empathize with it because I went through it. Where you, for example, if some of you are aspiring founders, you have your first meeting in Silicon Valley and then you come and say, "Oh, what's going on?" You know, because you feel if you speak in your Nigerian accent, they may not understand. Or your name is Amaka, you decide to call yourself Amy because you feel they will not be able to pronounce your name, right? So it is very important that we begin to shift two things because I hope you have been able to take away that our culture naturally, by design, is innovative. And if on that culture you can build a lot of self-confidence and understanding of that culture, you will be potentially able to innovate and go global. But there are two things that have to shift. The one is our leaders, keeping our languages alive. Now, what people usually say here is teach languages, teach our Igbo, our Hausa, our Yoruba. No, I'll say actually teach in Igbo, teach in Yoruba, teach in Hausa, teach in Ibibio. The second thing is apprenticeship programs. There's so much talent and ability in our culture. People that sculpt, people that weave, people that understand herbal medicine, and it's fading away. As our language is leaving, our culture is leaving. So government needs to help with those apprenticeship programs that empower that. And then empower cultural innovation. Actively fund businesses and sciences based on cultural innovations. So when you look at some of these AI or futuristic solutions that are based on African or Nigerian culture, it is rarely funded from Nigeria. And then for ourselves, which is what we can control, say your name and speak your tongue. There are quite a number of startups now that teach people how to speak their Nigerian language. Just search it on Google and you'll be able to learn. And then say your name as well. Learn traditions. Whenever I go home, and I go home quite frequently, I always make sure I visit the older people in my village. The kind of stories they tell me, mind-blowing, right? So engage in your culture, in festivals, listening to music and etc. and so forth. And then innovate from our roots. You see the thing with innovation? If you look for the way we do things in Nigeria and you put tech on top of it, the sky is the limit. Because there's so many things instinctively we have been able to solve for. So the world is waiting for Africa's imagination, and it starts with us owning who we are. And I want it to be that when you say, I am proud to be a Nigerian, the world can recognize it because of the innovation we have brought from our culture. And remember, when you finally own your own culture, you own your own name, you own your own tribe, you will remember to mepere onye nogi n'azụ, open the door for the person that's coming behind you, the next generation. Thank you very much.